I'm pleased to welcome from Australia, Michael Lamb, an alchemist, a healer. Michael, why don't you talk about your practice and what your vision is for the planet?
Oh, thank you very much. Good morning, Paul, and good morning, everyone. My vision for the planet at this stage is to see the reactivation of a lot of the ancient ecosystems and the energizing of the group consciousness now to take us through these interesting times as they are. Now, this enables us to actually connect with nature through the lines of a lot of the indigenous tribes, the ancient cultures, and the sacred healing and communicating aspects that those of the Druids, the Egyptians, the Sumerians, Celtic, your indigenous North American and South American tribes, of course, Polynesians, our indigenous Aborigines, Maoris, and many, many indigenous cultures of the Asias as well, and not to mention the Africas. These ancient cultures used to be able to communicate with plants and animals freely, like an empathic and telepathic communication. Some of the ancient occult schools and mystery schools knew how to grow a tree within a matter of hours and have it seeding. This sort of level of knowledge has been here before and is available again. And there's been ancient forests and that have been around, and I'm very, very strongly connected to them. And I have this vision that we can see this growing up of the forest. We have forests very similar to what you have there in the US and California, the redwoods and the sequoias. We had them here at Mount Ash in Victoria. These huge trees used to exist once before. Now these forests and jungles, they're very, very strong and sustainable. And it needs to be the same way with our own being. We can communicate. We're starved beings. We've been here before. We've been here a long time. Our souls have incarnated. My vision clearly is to communicate this level of knowledge, technology. It seems to be the age and the time that's right for it right now, Willi.
Excellent. Are you making money healing people directly, hands-on?
Yes, I am. It seems to be one of those areas where you've got to really dedicate your whole time and consciousness to actually make a full-time living out of it. I use a variety of methods, but the way we were brought up or taught in, I studied at a school called the School of Inner Knowledge when I went away from the I suppose the Eastern martial arts training. I wanted to find out more about the healing techniques, and I had a very, very good couple of teachers. And we do universal healing, which is not too dissimilar to your Reiki healing, and it brings in a lot of similar techniques, understanding the electromagnetic energy of the body, that most sicknesses are caused through the emotional body before the actual physical body seems to capture the symptoms later. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I do work as a healer, and I love doing my healing work, and I have a lot of different modalities as well.
How are you using the internet as a modality?
The internet, of course, there are various social networks. I mean, sending out emails is good, but I prefer the vocal way of speaking. Of course, there's also Facebook, these sorts of things. Also, I like to just use my website. There's sort of anything you can use off the back end to sort of sell products, whether they be crystals or any of the meditation CDs that I sell. And these products are good, and it's all part of it. There's so many different, once again, modalities that one can use. I like the internet. I think it's an excellent form of bringing things in. I've often said this, that the internet is the new Library of Alexandria, and nice. We can access this much level of knowledge, and we can contact people all over the place. YouTube, once again, you can catch up with the latest physics or some of the things that are there. Obviously, there's a lot to sort of sift through there, but you do find if you can learn anything off YouTube, you can type in I don't know, welding plastic, and there'll be someone done that and put it up, or fixing up a Rolex watch or something, using a sledgehammer and a slice of lemon or something. There's just so many different aspects.
Yes,
I do like it.
One of the things that caught my eye was that you used the word sorcery in conjunction with alchemy. You
Yes,
talked about building alchemy and sorcery formulas that might
yes,
be important to strengthen people in their spirituality. So
absolutely. Not,
a
go
lot
on,
of
sorry.
people a lot of people might find just the word sorcery controversial. How do you defend that?
Good words indeed. I stayed away from that word for a long time. Sorcery simply means accessing the source and energy of the universe or energy of the earth. And when we use the source, we refine it to the purest source, so that we're conscious in our heart and we have continuing or a love for the betterment of, let's say, life force in general. With the word sorcery, it was a very hard call to use it once again. I'll reiterate that. And to defend it, I mean, people like a true magician or a Kabbalist or an alchemist such as myself, when we are sort of going up through the ranks and learning color and sound formulas, these are Kabbalistic color and sound. The language of the Kabbalah is as old as the earth itself. And by uttering a particular sound, we create a color resonance, a shape, a number frequency that resonates whichever level we choose it to be, whether it be on the physical plane, the mental plane, the astral emotional level, or even if we subjugate it to the Akasha itself. Once again, pure of heart and working one's intentions for the betterment of self is probably the best way to look at it. I know sorcery is looked at as being one of the black arts, but really the word occult just simply means hidden, and sorcery is source. I mean, if you have to source information, go to the net, go to the book, go to the library. You might get it through sound or vision, whichever way, but it's a source. It's just a source. Look
Okay,
at that. Yeah,
very
and
very cool.
yep.
So when you talk about the Cabal, who invented the original alchemic formulas? Who invented the archetypes in the first place?
The archetypal formulas of the Kabbalah is basically the language of color and sound itself, or the actual creation sounds. You'll get these chants through every single indigenous culture on the planet when they chant. The Tibetans do it. Once again, the indigenous cultures from the Americas, Africa's, ancient Europe, Australia, and the Asias, they do these chanting sounds. And with this chant, it's the same as the language that we use, the English language. Every single letter in the English language, or the language of the angles, that's where the word English is, angles, the angles, has a color and sound vibration. It also has a number frequency as well. And when you reduce it to these particular sounds and colors, they have a very, very strong resonance. For example, I'll give you a small key here I'd like to share with the listeners.
All right.
All archangels, or the archetypes of the archangels, let's say Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, all of these particular archangels end in the letters EL. When you put that combination of color and sound together, it creates a very, very strong benevolent and regenerative and a youthful energy vibration. But to master these letters, it takes a long time to get them because, for example, the E combination, or just the E itself, that letter, is such a prevalent letter in even everyday speaking, to experience, to express, to energize, to excite. It starts with E. E has a dark violet color combination. As you know, the violet energy spectrum is just before we get into the white light spectrum. With that E, it relates to the spine, and it relates to the etheric level as well. When we do it, it also has a tone that it relates to as well. And also we learn, or we create that E sound within our whole physical being and our mental body and our astral body. it's a meditation within a meditation, and then when we add the L to it, it creates a what we call an alchemical formula, or a Kabbalistic formula, or a magical formula. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Well,
one must be clear on intention. Sorry. Yes.
That's good. I want to cover a lot of territory here in 30 minutes, so let's try to move on to another idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in your sense and grounding in sacred. What is sacred to you, Michael Lamb?
Life is sacred. Time is sacred. Relationships are sacred. Communication, trust, vows. I'm learning these things constantly as well myself, that these are constants. They're a part of our higher selves, and what I feel that we're learning in these cycles, these soul incarnations on this planet. And this is sacred. There are sacred temples and sacred sites where land has been cleared and blessed, once again, through many, many, many indigenous cultures and lands. And then these sites, very, very, more often than not, just about all the time, you'll find that they have a connection to a star system, or a connection of ley lines, magnetism. There's a strong vortex. The waters there are clear. There'll be a communion spirit of animals and certain types of plants that will be used for healing. Sacred sites also have a geometric effect as well. If one is into geomancy or dowsing, you'll find there might be subterranean artesians or aquifying areas there. This is just one area of sacred. But even in the communion, communicating with you now, to me this means sacred. I have an opportunity to express my views. And I'd like to say I don't wish to disrespect any religions or any thoughts of people. They're their own. I'm only saying from what I've learned, this is my opinion. This is what I believe, and this is what I know, and what I've tried and tested many times. And once again, I hold these energies sacred and dear to myself. Respect for other people's cultures, and then this creates a sacred, a bond and a connection. I feel that we're opening up on so many levels now, Willi.
Nice. Talk to me about alchemy and mythology. I've been working in permaculture, of course, trying to base my future on permaculture, write new mythologies. Tell me what you think of the stuff I'm doing.
With Joseph Campbell for beginners, and the heroes that say 1,000 faces, or the 12 stories of the hero. I thought we only had 30 minutes. With permaculture, I like the idea. A lot of my friends are working now into the sustainability, and I believe this cycle has been on this planet. Once again, it was happening in the 60s and the 70s in recent times, but it's there that we move away from this disposable society. You've seen the problems with plastic pollution, bottles and razors and all these sorts of things. These are not sustainable options. Going back to things that are recyclable and reusable many, many times over. Permaculture, once again, is anything you take from the earth, it grows again. You take an orange or a mandarin or a lemon from the tree, it comes back again. And simply by putting our waste, Mother Nature gives us the opportunity to ingest, and then we let go of things. It creates a super dynamic energy in the garden, and sustainability, of course, is the way we must be. Our own beings must be sustainable. We as human beings, if we damage ourselves, we have the opportunity to regenerate. We don't have to even tell our bodies to do that, but if we actually put the energy in to heal ourselves and regenerate ourselves, the same thing is a reflection in the Garden of Eden, as it were, in nature itself. Anything that we put back in, if we tell a tree or a plant that we love the tree or this life force, it tends to grow a juicier fruit or a more brighter bloom in the flowers. This is a natural communication of sustainability, excess energy, rather than going in there and wasting thought or getting distracted with a lot of the, I suppose, mainstream society's distractions. You know. There's a lot more to put back into it. I'm trying to do it as quickly and summarize as possible.
Well, that's okay. We can we can have another conversation. That's okay too.
Yeah, it does connect with all the mythologies. Yes.
I wanted to know if we needed new mythology because the old stuff isn't working very well anymore. Do we have to write new myths?
I feel you're right in that regard. Yes, I do find that when we're going back through myths, you know, we've got to do a lot of research, whether it be the Greek or the Celtic, or once again, a lot of the other indigenous myths. There seems to be, you've got to dig up a lot. I mean, we've had a lot of good speakers in the past, and they've come out and they've sort of simplified the teachings and the storytellings of their elders. And we've had Robert Morning Sky, we've got these people like Dan Winter, Nassim Haramein. They're cracking codes at phenomenal levels and rates now. Just to name a few, you know, Hoagland, Zachariah Sitchin. So many of these beings are out there. They're like code breakers, but it seems like in our own life we want a lot more expression from ourselves that seems to be right. Like mythology seems to be a part of our nature, and what we experience ourselves, what's happening in our days and our nights now seems to be very, very close to mythology. What we experience in meditations, what we experience when we go into the forests, we have a communication with the nature spirits there on many levels. So these mythologies are our own storytelling. We'll be telling our children and our grandchildren as well. Is this sort of seems to be coming to a culmination, very similar to what you're saying here? Yes.
Yeah. Are you looking for a big bang, a crash, or are you looking for a transition ahead? How do you see the future?
I see transition, of course. Alchemy is transformation. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's a lot more sped up as we are now. We're in the quickening. Some of the energies and the downloads we're having now, we've got 3 eclipses happening this June 2011. Basically, wow. Yeah, there's a lot of energy, and people feel it, particularly a lot of the female folk that are very tuned into the lunar cycles. They know through solar and lunar eclipses there's massive energy transition. This 2011, once again, I feel there's been more change than we've ever experienced before. And once again, people going, 2012, 2013, but I feel living it in a day-to-day aspect, that the energy seems to be doubling at a phenomenal rate. I mean, we're hitting galactic center now, which is basically in between the constellation Scorpio and Sagittarius. The galactic center is just at the end of the Sagittarian Archer's bow, which is quite ironic because that bow points to Antares, the heart of the scorpion, which is one of the transitional elements that we use in alchemy. You know, it relates to the eagle, you know. Scorpio relates to the eagle, card 13 in the tarot deck, whichever way you want to look at it like that. It's it all seems to connect. Once again, we're meshing ancient mythology with high-end technologies, whether it be etymology, anthropology, physics, biology. We're taking in a lot now. We're listening to a lot of people. Once again, the internet's really helping with that. You know, we're sort of meshing and layering and nesting many, many archetypes, indigenous cultures, song, dance, prayer, meditation, communication with plants, animals, and even the mineral kingdom, of course. Let's not forget the power of crystals. And any scientist that condemns that, I say, well, there's a lot of scientific evidence there. Take a look at a diamond. If you put a diamond on a stylus, on a record player, you're picking up color and sound, you know. Any of the lasers used, they're either ruby, emerald, beryllium emeralds, or, of course, YAG, which is a garnet-based level. So these crystalline structures are there to help us, and they resonate to the higher aspect of our light body, our car body. You know, so mythology there once again. It seems to be repeating itself, and it's speeding up at a phenomenal rate now, Willie.
I don't find anybody writing new mythologies except for myself. So I'm curious to see where those new stories are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where they are except on my website. So there you go.
All right. I'll have to harmonize, put some stuff down. I've dug up a lot of sort of stuff, not in a weird way, but you know, go out there. Exactly.
Tell,
it-
Michael, tell
yeah.
me, tell me what some of the important symbols of our age are now, the 2000 plus years. What are the symbols of our culture?
Geez, once again, I'm going to go back. I find that the obelisks, there were 30 obelisks moved out of Egypt, and I believe these obelisks are thousands of years old, even predating the Egyptians. Once again, like the pyramids, shapes like pyramids or these obelisks have a really strong, powerful electromagnetic eminence, like we get with our mobile phones and our computers. But these obelisks are similar to the round towers in Ireland and Europe, some of the shapes of your conical shapes of your North American indigenous tribes. These things like round domes, dolmens, like the stacking of stones, you see it time and time again. If I get into symbology, it's quite a large aspect to get into. You're going to see a combination of the pentagram and a hexagram. It's basically, you see pentahexa, golden mean rectangle. A pentahex is basically like a sliver, a top-down view of our DNA. The pentagram itself is to regeneration. You see it thousands of times throughout nature, throughout the flowers. Many, many flowers relate to it. Now, the pentagram and the hexagram, they are 2D shapes, two-dimensional shapes. If you go to their three-dimensional equivalents, you're going to move to the dodecahedron as the three-dimensional pentagram, and of course the star tetrahedron of the hexagram. Okay, both sacred symbols and very, very powerful. The star tetrahedron, of course, you know, with the flower of life and how it works with John Bell and Melchizedek's work when one starts to use the Merkaba meditation. It's a time travel device. It's part of our being. And of course, the dodecahedron, of course, is the ability to implode and become fractal with all levels and dimensions of consciousness. I mean, if you want to check out more Dan Winter's work there, and also some of the work that Buckminster Fuller and these sorts of things have done as well. I don't want to get too technical with that, but you'll see these shapes a lot more. But just basically the pentagram or the six-pointed star, 5 and 6, I mean, these are the archetypes. I mean, if you look at the 60-year cycle of planet Jupiter and Saturn, they map these out. Once again, Jupiter and Saturn, they're Kronos and Zeus in your Greek mythology. You know, it goes on and on and on. It connects. High-end technology seems to connect with ancient archetypes. It just is. It's the way things are.
Okay. I'm not going to argue with that. So, Michael Lamb, who's in your tribe?
I've got, do you want names? Do I need to name names?
No, I'm just curious where they are, how far away they are, who they are.
As I live on the Gold Coast, which is ironic, and I live at a place called Mermaid Beach, near a place called Magic Mountain, you can imagine the kinds of people I work. I do have a radio station in a radio show in Byron Bay. It's Bay FM 99.9, ironically. It's Astro Alchemy. You can get that at Bay FM. That goes out 7 o'clock on 7 a.m. on Sunday morning, Australian, Eastern Australian Standard Time. In my tribe, there are a lot of people, once again, I teach meditation classes, so I get to meet a lot of people, a lot of healers. I have those people that work with mathematics, geometry, dowsers, people that work with crystal sound therapy, a lot of psychics, also people that are inventors. And I'd say a whole collection of people that are working in the entertainment field as well. Once again, dancing, it's a beautiful, sacred way to connect with the earth. I have people and friends in Sydney. I love them very dearly. They're an interesting connection down there as well. I've got a workshop, a shamanic workshop coming up in Tasmania, in Launceston in July. I'm really looking forward to that. Once again, I meet all these different people from walks of life. It's very, very hard to sort of connect it, but I do have a lot of Indigenous friends here, okay. Aborigines and Maori people. I tend to get on, like there's a brotherhood and a sisterhood there. as well. It connects mountain folk, as we call them. It's not too dissimilar. The layout here in the east coast of Australia is not too dissimilar to what you have in California. You have the beach and then you have the mountains, the Rockies in the background kind of thing, and that happens with the Great Dividing Range here. A lot of people that come up from the mountains that are really interesting folk.
It sounds like your tribe is half the country.
A lot of people come up to me. I don't know if you get this. I know you. Where do I know you from? Yeah, he used to work down the road with Bill. Probably not in this life cycle, but I'm sure he's a really great guy, you know.
Interesting.
Love
All
this
right. Well, what's on your mind? What would you like to talk about?
I'd like to talk about the connection with sacred shapes, and I'd say at the best, it's a combination of mythology and high-end technologies as well.
All right.
All right. All of the ancient temples that I've worked with and around, and a lot of the sacred sites, seems to be the layout seem to have a very strong connection with particular star systems. I mean, it's obvious that the plains of or the layout of the Egypt's pyramids connect to the belt of Orion. You know, those three stars, Mintaka, Al-Ninlam, and Al-Nintak, exactly mathematically connected to those particular stars. When you go to the Dragon Temple in Siam Reap in North Cambodia, the mathematics and distances and the spacing of those temples relate to the distance of the stars in the constellation Draco. Once again, if you look at the harmonics in the Greek temples, the resonance of sound frequencies that seem to come out there, it seems to connect with tones of instruments that have been made. Anything that connects with sound and color, that's where I'm really passionate. When you go to some of the canyons that you probably have in the US, so many sites to visit, you can create a sound or a chant and it'll resonate and a lot longer. You'll have the echo effect. But this is the same as we look at a Stradivarius violin or a Gibson guitar or a Gretsch guitar. You look at the way it's shaped and it's lined out. If you lay the instrument down on a table and just touch it, it has this resonation or a vibration, a frequency. And I believe this is part of the foot map that our own beings resonate to as well. If you look at the shape of our own lungs and our body, they resemble let's say a lot of the fruits and foods of the planet. This is, of course, Don Tolman's work and his son Tyler Tolman. You know what I mean? They're talking about anything that's good for your body relates to a part of your body. It's the same as, you know, like got a tomato here. I prepared this one earlier. He's actually toroidal in shape. You know, as I say, here's another sacred shape. If you look at it, it has a north and a south aspect to it. And this is like it's a sphere, but it has a torus, the same as their own body, you know. I know I'm getting a bit scattered here, but there's so many areas of this work that I'm very, very passionate about. It has a sacred shape. These torus fields, or spherical toroidal fields, seem to be created when you resonate sound or color at the right frequency, at the right place, and now more than likely at the right time. Timing is everything in music. It's timing is everything in comedy. You know, split-second timing. We create these potent sounds and color frequencies and resonances. I feel we can activate a lot of the, I suppose, the latent energies that are laying dormant in planet Earth. But one has to have pure heart and a pure intention. You know, be careful about these combinations. And be aware and be respectful, and also respectful of space. Always good to ask self, higher self, and then of course those might be guardians of these areas that or the watchers of those areas, that if you can practice your love, your magic, or your healing in these areas, and you open your heart, then you are aware now of higher frequencies. I've been working a lot with the blue-violet flame energy that seems to be a potent resonance source of healing, and also you'll see it connected with a lot of the high energy aircraft. I mean, nothing seems to blow your mind now. I mean, there's places on this planet you can go and there's just like ETs or UFOs. They don't even call them UFOs anymore. They're just dancing stars or dancing lights. It's just so, it's common practice. There's nothing. I believe there's about 8 or 9 countries now. They're not even going to cover it up. It just costs too much money of their gross national budget. You know, why bother? It's ridiculous. We know these beings have been here for thousands of years. Just look at the way those stones were cut in, I mean, the Nazca lines, any of the great temples and South America, Central Americas. I mean, these sorts of things. I mean, some of these obelisks and that they move, they're 1,100 tons. You know, you're not going to get these slaves moving those things around with rope. No way. You want it where? You want it when? I believe with high energy frequency, we've seen levitation take place. This is not new technology. It's been around for thousands of years. I mean, the Tibetans, when they're putting those stones together, levitation, they do it with certain combinations, not just your Om, but the R and the AR and the E. They do these powerful or and when the resonance hits the right frequency, then it creates rippling effect. You've seen opera singers shatter crystal glasses. You know, sound and color vibration. I mean, look at the potency of a lot of the rock singers of the 60s, 70s, 80s. You know, their power, their magnetism, you know, electromagnetics, you know, through the speakers and the sound of electric guitars and, you know, the skins, the drums. You're looking at very, very simple sound that resonated through electromagnetics, and it has a real strong magnetism. And if there's a lot of quality in their music, or they're singing, you know, whether it be a chant or self-expression, I do believe this is where I'm getting back to you in a very, very roundabout way of your modern mythology. I believe it's come out in a lot of music from bands, and I feel it comes from sometimes, you know, a lot of repressed anger or upset energy or pain. This mythology seems to be, if you read the words of these bands, such as, where do I start? I mean, you can look at anything from the Beatles to Jimi Hendrix to Pearl Jam to
Midnight Oil.
Midnight Oil, exactly. I mean, Rage Against the Machine. Oh my goodness! I mean, what they did to the American Indian movement, very, very powerful. Faith No More. I suppose they're the harder rock bands, but there's beautiful, beautiful ballads and that come from so many feminine aspects now. I couldn't even keep up with that many of the feminine speakers and singers and divas. Have one down here, Daya Dover, the way she speaks and sings gorgeous music. It's just resonant. I went to a gong night for my birthday.
A gong? What's a gong?
Just gongs. So it just had gongs and crystal bowls, and it just took you to another planet, and they were all tuned to different planetary frequencies. And the resonance of these energies, you know, these huge metal gongs, the way they played them, it's like drums are in every culture. Every culture, the drum is there, the skins and the timber hollow. It's Latino cultures and dancing. And look what it does. It's magnetic. It makes you get up and dance. You know, once again, it's that sound and color that I'm very, very passionate about. And the indigenous cultures, they dress up in their feathers and their motifs and their sacred ceremonial outfits, and wow, you've got movement. You know, it's like a connection with all levels of nature. You know.
Michael Lamb, I have to cut this off, but don't go away. I'm just going to pause it and close off the tape. Okay, hold on.
All right.